to me, talk to me, talk to me. Finally, horror fans are getting a much-deserved and unexpected treat from A24 with their latest film, Talk to Me. No spoilers. I'll be honest, this is one of the best horror films I've seen in a long time. I don't want to oversell it, but this is such a great movie from start to finish. And the best part is, this is these directors' directorial debut, meaning this is their first film, and we are going to get plenty more from them. This is the type of movie that we should be supporting at the movie theater. Twins Danny and Michael Philippa, known for their YouTube channel Raka Raka, which is an odd mix of mostly comedy sketches, some involving comedic wrestling stunts, some pitting Marvel and DC characters against each other, and other videos showcasing their Jedi skills in a local Walmart. The skill set is there even in their early videos from about a decade ago, in which the visual effects are super impressive. Everything culminated in this recent venture into creating a bidding war for their horror flick Talk to Me, in which A24 came out on top and secured the distribution rights. So what is Talk to Me about? When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. We've seen films similar to this before with things like Ouija, but Talk to Me brings new life and an odd mix of humor, grief, and terror to the screen. If I were to describe the movie in one word, it would be unsettling. This movie is creepy as fuck, dude. There were actually certain scenes where I found myself kind of curled into my own body and comforting myself with my hands, which is something I never do in horror movies, or movies in general. The scenes were just that tense that they kind of shook me up. The chick in the seat next to me was visibly uncomfortable and she kept gasping and holding her hand over her mouth, which is exactly what you want in a horror film. So the main concept in this movie is a group of teenagers get together and use an embalmed hand to commune with the dead. Rather than partying with a bunch of coke and copious amounts of alcohol, having the literal shit scared out of them is this group's drug of choice. They even film it and post it on social media for others to see. Oh my god, this movie had so many standouts and positive things about it. The intro sequence was reminiscent of classic horror films like Scream and Jaws, in which you are instantly hooked and want to find out more about what is actually going on. One of the biggest standouts in the film is the use of practical effects and makeup as opposed to computer-generated scares. Often CG scares just remind me that I'm watching a movie, and that is all but gone in this film. Practical effects are always far more terrifying in my opinion, and the makeup department did an amazing job at creating some truly creepy looks for the conjured souls. So the budget is also a positive. This movie has that indie film feel to it. It's gritty, it's raw, and it's economic in the way that it is shot. So many of the recent outings from Hollywood have had massively bloated budgets. I love seeing movies with smaller budgets create amazing work with a simple idea and some creative minds behind it, rather than a shoot for the edit approach with a shit ton of green screen and post-production visual effects. Another positive is that they didn't recycle scares and use the same dead characters over and over, but there was a lot of variety in the way the dead looked. It's almost like a horror film bag of tricks in which they use every trick in the book, never overusing a single scare tactic or horror movie trope. So what I'm saying is there was no over-reliance on jump scares, and I think there was maybe one or two in the entire film. As far as standout moments, there is a scene where a possession goes too far, and the tension in the scene is totally palpable. I was gripping the seat and had to remind myself to breathe once the scene was over. I'm actually getting PTSD kind of thinking about the scene. It was insane. The story is a compelling one in that the lead character, Mia, has lost her mother 2 years ago, and she's just looking for how she fits into the world. In doing so, she's willing to take more risks, and it has disastrous results. Out of a desire to reconnect with her deceased mother, Mia takes things a little too far. So the cast of characters in this movie do an amazing job to elevate this film. The lead female, played by Sophie Wilde, was incredibly compelling. Her performance reminded me of Lupita Nyong'o's performance in Jordan Peele's 2019 film Us. She was riveting in the lead, and she did an impeccable job interweaving the grief of her deceased mother and the horror that accompanied her compulsion to reconnect with her mom. There are some scenes that cause you to question what is real as Mia slips further into madness. There's also a foot fetish scene that would make Quentin Tarantino proud. Delicious feet. Up-and-comer Joe Bird, who plays Riley, has an incredible performance, especially in his possessed state. So the film sometimes does these straight-on shots of the actor, and you don't see what they're actually looking at, you're just seeing their performance. And that is what makes things more riveting. It's these scenes that prove to be much worse as we are imagining what Riley is seeing based on Joe's incredible performance. His mom Sue is played by Miranda Otto, who I know as Éowyn from The Lord of the Rings.
I am no man.
Otto surprisingly provides much of the film's needed comic relief. Not every horror film needs or leans on comic relief. The Witch and The Exorcist can attest to that. But this film cleverly and simply provides splashes of humor through an untrusting mother and the things that she says to her kids. It's cleverly written, and she's no dum-dum. Talk to Me has deep themes of grief, loss, denial, hope, and a desire to not be alone interwoven into the narrative. We often allow ourselves to believe certain things because that best fits the narrative of what we want to believe and how we want to see the world. Sometimes we can't fathom that someone would do a certain thing, so we choose to believe otherwise. Loss can make you do anything to regain what was lost. Denial can send you spiraling to where you aren't sure who you can trust, including yourself. Hope can be a bitch because it's the thing that keeps us going, but it's so often the thing that is taken away from us again and again. None of us want to be alone. We all want to belong in some way, and often we do things against our better judgment just to fit in. So if someone ever has an ancient relic that they claim can commune with the dead, maybe take a pass on that one. I felt a deep emotional connection to the film as I truly understood Mia's motivations. The movie does a great job of showing the amazing connection Mia had with her mother via a quick scene of Mia viewing an old video of her and her mom being sassy with each other and showing just how close they actually were. It makes it more understandable that Mia makes certain asinine decisions out of a desire to reconnect with her mom, even if it is in the afterlife. My mom died in 2018, so I understand the perspective of wanting just one more conversation and wanting to get answers. So the visual style of the actors when they were possessed was really interesting, and the fact that they all reacted differently each time kept things fresh and fun.
They like you.
The prosthetics and makeup of the dead enhanced the possession sequences and made them feel all the more real. There's also a scene with the dog that I'm not sure how they even filmed it. Maybe some peanut butter on the mouse. It was humorous, off-putting, entirely gross, and I will leave it at that. Talk to Me clocks in at 1 hour and 34 minutes and is perfectly paced. There were no moments where I thought things slowed down too much or were over-bloated. I honestly didn't really even think about time because I was so riveted by what was happening on the screen. So let's be honest for a second, almost all movies have flaws, critiques, and things that don't work for certain people. This movie, as a horror film, has very few, if any, flaws. There are some minor nitpicks and things you have to accept when watching a horror movie, especially one in which possession and the undead are at play. If you overanalyze or overthink things, or think the concept is ridiculous because it is beyond reality, then this film is likely not for you. But you could probably judge that just by watching the trailer. So I want to talk about A24 for a second because they are putting out amazing films, particularly in the horror genre. A24 has put out some amazing horror films from Hereditary to The Witch, and more recently Pearl and X. The thing I love about A24 as a studio is they often challenge their audience with uncomfortable themes and the darker side of humanity. I appreciate that they don't play things safe with their films. That's super rewarding as a film fan. I'm not here to be coddled. So who is this movie for? Talk to Me is for die-hard horror and indie horror film fans alike. It's for film fans who don't mind being challenged and enjoy the heavy and the dark that A24 films often bring. Talk to Me is an excellent movie and a great horror film. Several of the scenes were so tense that I found myself clutching in and holding myself just for comfort, which is something I never do. I will say this film is not for everyone. There were a few patrons who got up and left about a third of the way into the movie. One of them did have a 4-year-old, so shame on you. I mean, that's what you get when you take a 4-year-old to a rated R movie. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend this film to 4-year-olds. They have a rating system for a reason. But if you want to be the cool mom or dad, just enjoy those years and years of paying for therapy. At the end of the day, Talk to Me is an incredible movie and one that we should be supporting at the movie theater as film fans. In a sea of mediocre and lackluster letdowns, Talk to Me stands out as a gem that is enhanced by the theatrical experience. The surround sound in the movie creeped me the fuck out. If you're feeling sexy, my friend, subscribe here, check out my latest video here, and I will catch you in the next one.